All right, one more thing I want to show you about if you are given the directions to find or identify the inverse of a graph using a graph. I'm going to use the complicated problem here. All I'm going to do is type this equation into my Desmos. So I get g of x, and by now hopefully you're realizing that Desmos is a wonderful tool. You will have access to it. It's the calculator inside your testing on your final. So I need the fifth root. To find the fifth root here, I have to go to functions here, over to miscellaneous, and you can see that an n is there, so I can type any number I want there. And then I have to put parentheses around that quantity because I want it in my numerator. So negative x minus 1 and my quantity divided by 2, and use my right arrow to get out of the square root, or the fifth root there. So I've got my graph here. If you remember the inverse, all you're doing is switching this. I'm going to make my g of x y. And I'm switching the variables, so I'm going to put x equals the same thing but use y. So functions here, type 5, the quantity negative y minus 1 divided by 2, and then get outside. So the reason why I showed you this is because you can identify from the graph which one you should use. Obviously, A is not the right choice. B, if you zoom in, you can zoom in just by pinching in and out on Desmos. So I'm having a little trouble doing that right now, so I'll just use the key. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so I've got 0. I've got around a negative 1 here, and that's what's going on here. This one is way off. It's not in the negative range. And D, I have an intersection over on the other side, on the fourth quadrant instead of the second. So you can see, just if you had to identify by a graph, just by replacing the variables, that's how you can solve it. The answer choice would be B.